Put two beating hearts together, stitch the seams and pull the levers. Strange desires, sparks and wires. I sign the dotted line and tethered yours to mine. No anesthetic for hearts electric. Parts start to decay when just your shadow half remains. The operation had complications, and the part of you that died I'll carry all my life. Lovers slowly decomposing, so it goes. Could have been paradise, could have had diamond eyes that held so tight that I lost her. We could have been fireflies, but that fire died, dead and gone. I was wrong, love's a call. I'm a monster.
Monsters. Monsters. Monsters.
Hope lingers on after the one you love is gone. Thought I smelled your ghost in my winter coat, and our love became a void, another echo in the noise that can't erase what we became. We could have been paradise, could have been you and I played the fool, and you played the martyr. We could have been fireflies, but some fires die. I meant no harm, we were both wrong. Moving on. I'm a monster.
Monsters. Monsters. Monsters.
We are live. I'm Ronnie Harris of the Limitless channel, live on the Limitless channel with Jason Laufenberg, the Awake Souls YouTube. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good. It's a nice, foggy, misty, like canopied up night. You know, it's different. You know, I'm enjoying it for sure.
Yeah. So Friday night, we had a history of going live on Friday nights for a long time. And it's been a little break. We got disrupted with community guideline strikes and work and, you know, just everyday life, that kind of stuff. But here we are on a Friday night live again, and happy to be back with all of you. Thank you so much to the people that are joining, people in the chat. And a couple topics to talk about tonight. I mean, nothing, well, a couple things might be big. We'll have to see what everybody thinks. But I got a couple links, you got a couple links. We'll talk as long as it seems fit tonight. Hopefully we get some input from the chat, and we'll try to answer questions that we can. So everybody sit back and have some fun tonight. What do you think, bro?
Well, yeah, it's pretty interesting what we're seeing. We're, you know, approaching a bunch of different things with the alignment of Saturn and Jupiter in the sky, as well as the eclipse on the 14th, as well as the what do you call it, the electoral college nonsense where they select the next president, right? So we've got a bunch of stuff that's just on the edge of the horizon. I'm really looking forward to seeing a bunch of the stuff that's going on. There's some interesting links that are being made now with apparently, I don't know if anyone's heard this, but, spoiler alert, they're saying that the coronavirus, I shouldn't have even said that, the jab apparently has like HIV in it. Have you heard this?
Oh, I saw a headline. I didn't look into it.
I don't know, man. I don't really believe in that. I think like people go to the hospital and it's the same type of test that they're administering for the corona. It just, when your body is like doing anything, free radicals are being created inside your body. They just, oh, something's wrong with you. And then they call it positive for whatever test that they want. Again, we're not doctors. We're not giving any medical advice. We just let people know what we do. But it's interesting to see how they're saying that they've actually put parts of the HIV into the jab. So I don't know if everyone quite knows about that, but that's basically what's going on. I'll be sharing a link for that after. So what are you going to be going through if you'd like to give people just a little taste of what you're going to talk about tonight?
Well, chances are people have heard. The people that are going to be following us are probably people that are digging in and looking for what's going on. People probably have heard that the FDA was given the green light. We've been put in everybody's attention towards December 10th, which was the day that the FDA was going to rule on this. They were going to get together and talk about whether or not to recommend the vaccine or jab, right?
It's hard, right?
It is hard. So they've ruled on it. We're going to go through an article that we're going to be covering mainstream media news, making sure that people are aware of what the mainstream narrative is. And of course, we always put that against how we're going to respond to it, what we're going to do. And this isn't advice for anybody. It's just literally telling people what we are going to do. Do with it what you will. So FDA ruling is one of the topics. The other thing has to do with dates again. I want to go back to that calendar that we've been sharing. We'll share the link again for it. It's a really interesting calendar for people that have followed along and know what I'm talking about right now. There's a spreadsheet that got shared amongst some end time watchers that has 3 different calendars that show up right against each other. One of them's the screwed up Hebrew calendar, it's labeled. The other one is an Enochian moon calendar, and another one's an Enochian sun calendar. And so I've been pointing people towards this middle column, but the research that I did for today's hangout has helped me to understand the right column more. And I want to go through that with people and help people see what it is that I figured out about it. You can test it for yourselves to see whether or not the conclusions that I'm coming to are accurate. But so it's going to give us 2 dates based off of those 2 different Enochian calendars, one being lunar centric and the other one being solar centric. And so we're just here relaying information that we come across, that we make sense of, that we think is maybe pertinent to end time scenarios. And so I'd like to go through that as well. What about you, brother?
Yeah, that's, most of the topics are rolled in together. I've just got a quick thing from the True News with a U, and basically to give commentary on what you're saying. Like I said, we're not doing our super podcasts. We don't have exactly that much to cover, even though there is that many things that are taking place. We will be covering a lot of the stuff to do with the alignments of the stars and everything that I had mentioned before, when those dates arise. So we're looking forward to seeing what's happening in the future. Just giving a shout out to everybody in the chat. Super nice to see everybody's here. Seth Jordan asked about luciferase. Well, we have been saying that the jab is going to be, you can't buy or sell, and they're going to need to track you. So if they're actually going to do the patch system where they put it on your, what is it, your right hand or your forehead, you put the invisible array system that they've launched with some type of snipe. Was it a venom? That's a venom snake like a patch that you put on and then you pull off,
So I've been thinking about that. In the first jab that we're seeing being released and the FDA approval being given for, is one of the liquid vial ones where they put the hypodermic in there and then they draw out the fluid and then they pump that, give you the jab, just bang it directly into your body. So that system right there, if let's say you wanted to go to the grocery store and the grocery store was saying you have to be vaccinated to come into the grocery store, when you get up to the door and they say, have you been vaccinated? Do you think there's anybody that would not say yes?
Yeah, of course.
Right? Yes, I've been vaccinated.
Of course.
And
Yeah, I'm good.
I got it. I'm all set. So what they need is a system that counteracts the people that would do that. All right? They need to have some sort of a scannable, detectable type thing. But I don't believe, this is my personal opinion, that little vial and the hypodermic and what you're going to get in the upper arm right there, I don't believe that has the tracking mechanism in that. I believe that is something that's going to be coming as a secondary part, so that once you've been given the jab, you get this ID system that then is all biometrically connected to you, that will say that yes, you've been given this jab or that jab. So
you're allowed to buy and sell. And
that I would
in
expect
society.
in the right hand or the forehead. Right?
Yeah, and to travel, right? You are gonna need to receive the mark that you're entering into this new world order, and that you're willing to participate, right? So there is a lot of that going on in the mainstream news. They're discussing how are we going to force people to take the vaccine. I shouldn't even say the word, but that's the mainstream media narrative right now. We played a bit last night from the Canadian health minister stating that we're not going to force anyone to take it, but you're not allowed to travel. You're not allowed to go any places where people gather. So that's stores, anything, gyms, malls, restaurants, hospitals, anywhere you see another person, basically, you're not going to be allowed to go to. And they are going to need to track you. And so, it's just, we're in super interesting times. I'm still filled with, fire and passion for the truth. And I still want to be out here and sharing my truth and hopefully fielding comments and questions in the chat. Jason's channel's down due to 2 copyright strikes. False, by the way. They said we were giving bad medical information. We were telling people not to use sunscreen.
Not copyright, community guideline.
Yeah, community guideline. Thank you. We were telling people to dress sun appropriate, use certain types of non-toxic oils on your skin to prevent sunburn. And apparently that's misinformation.
We literally quoted the mainstream media articles that had the warnings in them about the use of sunscreen, the dangers associated with the chemicals in sunscreen, right?
So they take their shots at us. We go from 100 people to 30. So whatever. We don't care. We've never cared about how many people were here. We care about each and every one of the people that actually show up. That's what matters. Even if there was just one person besides me and Jason, we would still be here, because we're about timestamps and getting the truth out there.
So I guess we do care, but it won't stop us.
No.
Right? So we care. I mean, I would love to have more people watching than less, just from the standpoint that what we're sharing is verifiable facts. We just talk about truth. We just stick to basic topics that are testable, verifiable, repeatable. We want as many people to hear that type of information as possible, but if the views are held back for whatever reason, we're not going to stop. We'll just keep laying it down.
And if they take Jason's channel down, we're going to put up 100 channels with every video that he ever made. So come on, I dare you. Go for it. Do it. Take your best shot, because all you're going to do is unleash what you don't want. And I'm ready for that. We are ready for that, both of us. So I guess the chat was kind of sticking along here. We've had some comments that find any reason, says Stacy, to strike you guys. Of course you didn't have Rona, because we know that, Seth. We agree that it's not real. The cold and the flu people get all the time, and that's never going to change, and they're never going to be able to jab that out of you. That's always going to be a part of society. And we went over the germophobia last night. I thought that was super interesting topics. How we've gone from a society where those people were actually mentally ill to now that they're the average or the norm. It's the same thing with transgenderism and all these other different things where their actual psychological mental disabilities that have been forced upon people are now being heralded as the heroes. This is the world we live in. It's upside down. It's backwards. We live in a world where 99.9999% of the people actually think they need to cover their mouth or they're going to get some crazy thing and they're going to get sick. Again, we're not giving any medical advice. We're just telling you it's nonsense, right?
Well, and we covered last night how it's created germaphobes. So the media coverage has actually made people that weren't germaphobes now germaphobes, which is a disability. And so they're doing all this for people's not welfare.
No, to make them sick.
Anti-welfare, right? Like,
yeah. I even heard Fauci saying today, I won't pull the clip up, but he was on CNN. It was either today or yesterday. He was stating that even after everyone has the jab, there's still a good chance that you're going to have to wear that mask for forever. You know, he didn't give a date where they're going to take them away. He actually said it's still going to be just as bad. He's saying that even once the herd supposed immunity's met, he's saying that there is still a chance that you can get other diseases, right? So they're not just stopping here. They're going to keep this going. It's just the beginning.
and every year there's going to be a new cerveza bug, right? So
Yeah.
it'll be CV20, CV21, CV22, CV...
You know, just to vent a little bit, me personally, Ronnie Harris, you know, Jason and I worked so hard for the last 4 years. We did at least 1.5 to 2 years of work where we were designing and coming up with a community that we would have had free energy, sustainable lifestyles where all of the vegetables and all of the things that are needed are grown. The livestock was going to be kept, and the dwellings, they weren't going to be mansions, right? We were going to do the best that we could. People just needed to show up with what they had. And now we're approaching what we're approaching. You know, unless something supernatural takes place, we almost see that the clampdown is gonna happen. There's not much we can do except for get out here, spread our voice, try to send our energy, emit it throughout the realm. That's our fight. But, you know, Jason, just to reminisce, I seen people talking about a community today, and it's like, you know, where were the people when we were out here just screaming it? And you have two guys that are super stand-up guys, super Christian. We're not looking for, you know, to be anything else but leaders of a great community and work hard at it. We knew the work that it was going to take. And I wish we could have had that. I wish we could have had 100 or 200 people that all felt the same way, that loved the truth, that wanted to share this experience and be safe. We were going to take care of each other. We were going to, you know, only I know that in the kingdom, this will be what we have. We will have a kingdom community where the group that is together is going to be wonderful. We have that to look forward to. Try not to live in fear as we approach these days that we're in.
Apparently what we were hoping for just was not meant for this time. I guess it wasn't in the cards because we're prepared for it. Like you mentioned, we're two very able-bodied, well-thought-out people that like to make strategies and plans and can write well-written contracts that protect everybody's interest involved. And what we wanted was a communal effort to a peaceful life as separated from the world as possible. Yet we couldn't find the interested parties to do so. So it's still an open invitation, but I really do think that the time for that type of life is it's probably past, because I think everything that the scriptures talked about is being fulfilled, and that we're going to be coming into the Great Tribulation probably still in 2020. That date part of what I'd like to talk about tonight, it's still in 2020. It's not even in 2021 that we're talking about.
Again, you know, the most exciting thing, well, not the most exciting, but something very high on the list of things that I would find exciting to happen would be the beginning of the Great Tribulation. Because I have absolutely zero fear of what my future holds. I know where I'm headed. I know all the people that I love, where they're headed. But what I don't know is it going to kick off in 2020? Is it going to be like 2021? You know, is it going to be April? Is it going to be, like, we're always waiting. We know there's these great things that are forecasted. So we could actually see some sort of a a sky phenomena when we have the two aligning of the Jupiter and the Saturn stars. That could cause some interesting stuff.
We'll get into that tonight.
It's definitely high on my watch list. Like, to look up in the sky and see like two stars collide would be it would be something else. And like the fragments, and like, you know, now's the time to get real. Now's the time to tell people like how you really feel. You know, that would, I know I'm gonna do good because I always tell everyone exactly how I feel. I like the worst liar when it comes to that. D Truth was asking, brother, are you still feeling the Trump pull the rug carpet out? Why don't you comment on that?
I am. I haven't seen any reason to give up on that early take that I had on the way this was going to go down. I'm shocked to see this go out so far with almost no words spoken from Trump. Like, he just said something recently, and it's being written off as ridiculous. But through channels or whatever, they are still talking about it's the Texas lawsuit. So how crazy is that? We got to be in Texas, and Texas have got to be the lead charge here for fair elections and all that kind of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I don't believe in this system one bit, but for Texas to be taking the lead, this going to the Supreme Court, what we're expecting to hear is a ruling from the Supreme Court based on the Texas lawsuit that was filed that I guess other states have jumped onto, which is supposedly splitting the United States in two or whatever. If you go back to our older hangouts, I know it's tough because they're put on private on the Awake Souls channel right now. We're looking forward to being able to get those videos off of private, but it's stuff that we all talked about that. What was it? What had we talked about? I got sidelined there.
You lost your train of thought. We're discussing pulling the rug out on Trump.
Yeah. So the pull the rug sideline. I'm sorry,
You lost
everybody.
it. Well, my opinion on that topic is there's still a very strong case that they're actually going to give Trump the electoral votes. We're going to see, because it was the same thing as when it was against Hillary. Hillary supposedly outwon him in the votes, but they gave him the electoral votes because the states voted for him, right? It's a selection.
So we've been following the actual legal proceedings. True News has actually been covering the what's written in the Constitution aspect of this, and so it will go down to each state having one, or the Supreme Court is going to tell each state to pick an elector, and your elector gets to pick two people. So it's actually, the bylaws are written down in the Constitution, and all the scenarios that I'm seeing as a result of this end up in Trump being declared president. And so I really still do think it's going to be a pull the rug situation. This has always been, in my opinion, the situation that would create the greatest chaos. And the timetable, as far as when this type of thing might be announced, up until some other things that we're going to be talking about, the celestial events regarding the eclipse and the great conjunction that's coming up here in December. This works with that timetable to create the ultimate chaos for us to go into the Great Tribulation with all the biblical key markers taking place that we're looking for. So a little bit of supposition is going to be coming from Ronnie and I tonight based on all the little different things that we've seen leading into this. We're gonna go out there supposition wise, but a lot of fact-based things as far as actual times, key markers that we're going to be paying attention to.
Yeah, we're always watching for the timestamps, correct? So if there's anything else in the chat, I guess we'll go on to Presentation time with the Yahawashai News Network. I guess I can take the screen share first.
Okay.
But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. We're appreciative of every one of you very much. So, hopefully we can keep on topic tonight. Let me get a couple more settings right. So how you feeling, brother? You're happy tonight? Friday night.
No, I'm happy. I'm happy about learning a little bit more about the calendars and seeing it a little bit more clearly. That calendar, when I first saw it and started trying to figure it out, it was a bunch to like try to understand. And each time that I've looked at it since then, like all of a sudden it makes more and more sense to me, and I'm sort of excited about sharing what the recent thing that I figured out about it, because it really sort of helps us understand that the Hebrew screwed up calendar date truly is the Hebrew screwed up calendar date, and what we are really at.
Well,
so
you're gonna get your turn.
Yeah.
You're so excited to talk about the screwed up Hebrew calendar. I love it. Okay, let's get into this clip. Courtesy True News. That's TRUNEWS. We are what you could call the real true news. TRUE.
This is True News Headlines, news from a Christian point of view. I'm Doc Burkhart, sitting in for Carrie Kinsey, who is off today. Carrie's wife, Angela, is still recovering from major surgery, and your continued prayers are appreciated. Today on True News Headlines, the Australian government cancels a $1 billion vaccine contract when patients start showing false positives for HIV. Dr. Fauci says that we still need to wear a mask after the plunge injection teams come to your neighborhood, and governors around the country are absolutely giddy with issuing ridiculous curfews. All this and more on a Corona Crazy edition of True News. A $1 billion deal for the Australian government to buy more than 50 million doses of the University of Queensland's potential coronavirus vaccine has been abruptly terminated after several trial participants returned false positive HIV test results. You heard that right. Sources with knowledge of the current trial said pathology tests had in the past weeks confirmed that the positives were false and that the health of the participants had not been put at risk. That's what they say. But it does raise questions about the vaccine's development. Here's a report from Australian Broadcasting's Today Show with more.
We begin this hour with breaking news. The federal government's deal to buy millions of doses of a COVID vaccine produced by the University of Queensland has been terminated. Let's go straight to our reporter Fiona Whelan in Canberra on this. Fee, what's happened?
Well, Ali, look, it looks like this vaccine's out of the race. So the government had intended to buy more than 50 million doses if it proved to be successful. The University of Queensland jab has been in its trial phase. But as Nine, Sydney Morning Herald and The Age newspapers are reporting, the deal's been terminated. And that's because several trial participants received false positive HIV test results. Now, fortunately, this isn't the only vaccine that Australia's been pinning its hopes on. Our health authorities are closely watching the Pfizer vaccine, which is already being rolled out in the UK, among others. This was David Littleproud on the show a short time ago.
This is why we didn't put all our eggs in one basket. This is why we made sure there was 4 contracts that we signed to make sure that we got a vaccine. And this is intrinsically very difficult science that UQ and around the world is trying to break. So it was important that we didn't just say you were the winner. We actually spread our risk.
Well, Prime Minister Scott Morrison said the National Security Committee of Cabinet agreed to terminate the purchasing agreement on Thursday following expert health advice and fears the revelation would severely damage the Australian public's confidence in the COVID-19 vaccination program. No kidding. Which is expected to begin early next year. But, however, the Australian government was warned by a prominent vaccine scientist that the use of an HIV fragment protein in the University of Queensland's COVID-19 vaccine would present big problems months before entering into a multi-million-dollar deal to buy the 51 million doses of the protein-based candidate. I want to read you a direct quote from this article. Listen to this. "No one wanted to listen," Professor Petrovsky said. there's a chunk of HIV protein that they've used to attach to the vaccine that was always going to be a problem because it induces most of the immune response against the tag. That was clear in their hamster and mouse data. There it is. There are currently about 36 potential vaccines in the pipeline around the world, and in at least some of them, HIV proteins are being
I don't know what to say about this. I am just like, remember when it first started, the conspiracy theorists were saying, I shouldn't say that, truth analysts were saying that there was some sort of link with the HIV and the corona, remember?
Yeah, totally. We covered it many times. Yeah, they kept bringing it up.
But now they're straight up saying that they're building the jab. The jab contents are actually being built with the building blocks of the supposed HIV that Dr. Fauci and Deborah Birx and all these other people have been working on for like 30 years, right? All of a sudden now this is showing up in the jabs.
Oh.
It really is starting to look like if you get this jab, you actually might break out in terrible, terrible sores. Everything that we talked about last night with the allergies and the problems, I'm really starting to see this as like, I think they want to kill. They want to kill as many people as they can possibly kill right now. It's so hard to fathom. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just giving what I'm seeing. Why else would they be?
Just remember that there's what we call the quote unquote physical. That's going to be your anaphylactic shock and all that type of stuff. And then there's the spiritual. And so if this is going to be something that's required in order to buy and sell, which we've been sharing, they're saying it is going to be that, then it's going to be the mark of the beast. And there's the spiritual implications that I think are way more severe than just anaphylactic shock and that type of stuff, right?
This will play a bit more of this.
Used. Remember, you heard it here on True News Headlines. Now, did you hear what I just said? They're using HIV proteins in vaccines. This has now moved from conspiracy theory to conspiracy fact. A lot of people seem to think that if they just take the vaccine, they don't have to worry about things like social distancing or wearing masks anymore. But, well, bad news. According to Dr. Fauci, we're going to be wearing masks for a really, really long time, even if you've been vaccinated. Listen to this.
Oh, come on.
Why do I have to keep wearing the mask after I get the vaccine?
Oh, yeah, you got to hear
I
this.
thought it was going to protect me from the vaccine.
No.
What's the answer?
Well, the answer is unless you get the overwhelming majority of the country vaccinated and protected and get that umbrella of what we call herd immunity, there's still a lot of virus out there. So just because you're protected, so-called protected by the vaccine, you need to remember that you could be prevented from getting clinical disease. And still have the virus that is in your nasopharynx because you could get infected.
There's no...
Have some sort of virus in your nasal pharynx.
Yeah, the boogeyman can hide anywhere with these guys.
We're not sure at this point that the vaccine protects you against getting infected.
They're actually admitting that the cerveza bug jab has no way of protecting you against the cerveza bug. Literally just said it. I'm sorry. I'm uncontrollably laughing like a crazy person right now. Please forgive me.
Hey, brother, if you get a chance, could you drop the link for this in the chat?
Sure. I can do that real quick. I can't believe what he just said. They tell you, we were the ones, well, it was Chris Geo who said it, but the people that rule the world, these evil, sick people, they tell you what they're going to do. They put everything out in the open, and they think that if you're too stupid to see what they're doing, then you deserve to get what you get. So
You need to remember that you could be prevented from getting clinical disease and still have the virus that is in your nasopharynx because you could get infected. We're not sure at this point that the vaccine protects you against getting infected. We know for sure It's very, very good, 94, 95% in protecting you against clinically recognizable disease and almost 100% in protecting you for severe disease. But
So I guess in layman's terms, he's saying that once you get the jab, it won't stop you from actually catching the cerveza bug virus, but it'll help you stay out of the hospital, is what he's saying. In my opinion, once you get the cerveza bug jab, you have a higher likelihood chance. And again, I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. I'm just saying.
Kill
Yeah, I would be worried about ending up on a ventilator. That would be my biggest concern. Like, what are all these ventilators for? I think it's for the people that go into anaphylactic shock.
Yeah, and what are they going to do? They're going to put them on a ventilator. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this.
Maybe it's a tough one.
What I was about to say, what they're going to do once they get you on that ventilator system. And it's not, well, it's gross, really, what they're going to do. We'll keep going.
You have virus that is so low in society, we as a nation need to continue to wear the mask, to keep the physical distance, to avoid crowds. We're not through with this just because we're starting a vaccine program.
We're not through with this.
Even though you as an individual might have gotten vaccinated.
Once you get the jab, it don't mean anything's changed, people.
It is not over by any means. We still have a long way to go.
It's not over.
And we've got to get as many people as possible vaccinated of all groups.
Everyone.
What does that take? When are we fully vaccinated?
Well,
come on. CNN can't even stop the echo.
He's not going to answer it, is he?
This was
a point blank question. Mm-hmm. When is enough? And he's like, what?
The vaccine protects you against getting infected. We know for sure you against clinically recognized. But as a nation, crowds, we're not through. And we've got to get.
What does that take? When are we fully vaccinated?
Well, the projection that I've made, and I hope it works this way, it's going to depend upon the people's willingness to come up and step up to the plate and get vaccinated. If you go now through December, January, February, March, you likely will have the people who fall into the high priority groups get vaccinated.
High risk people first by, what did he say? March? April.
When, let's say, you get into April, I would project by the time you get to April, it will be, I guess you want to call it open season in the sense of anyone, even the non-high priority groups, could get vaccinated. If we get the vaccine doses coming in at the projected rate that we had hoped they will, and I believe it will, as we get into April, May, and June, you'll get more and more of the population. If 75 or more % of the population decides they want to get vaccinated, I would hope by the time we get to the end of the second quarter, into the summer, that we will have enough people vaccinated that by the time we get to the fall, in the third quarter of the year, that we will have that veil of protective herd immunity that would really essentially protect.
Now we got to get into social MK Ultra mind control programming. He's going to go into his Bella, his daughter.
Protect all the vulnerable.
Will my Bella be able to start college as a freshman in the fall?
Like, I don't even want to know what goes on at those colleges. That's all I've got to say. Because they're not learning any truth, that's for sure.
You know, I hope so.
He hopes so. Well, City of Miami commissioners have voted unanimously to approve a resolution.
So the next topic that we're going to be going into is the supposed lockdowns that they're trying to impose again. So what they're slowly doing, I don't know, maybe I could stop it here and give you the screen share because I don't want to go on all night long. I think that's enough from my side. What he's about to get into is talking about these new laws. So somewhere in Florida, I guess in Miami, they've now decided that they're going to have curfews because the corona, it's so smart that it knows to attack between the hours of 10 p.m. and like 6 a.m. in the morning, right, Jason? That's the highest time. So everyone has to stay inside their house now from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. Have you heard about this?
Well, I told you this morning I saw the headline regarding the Austin area that they're considering going to stage 5 yet here in December, which would be curfew. like you're saying. So the amount of other changes that take place are not huge. Like, they're not talking about changing occupancy levels. They're saying maybe do away with indoor dining, but basically just curfew. Having a curfew where you're not allowed out after a certain time at night. So, yeah, the idea that this is a protection is so nonsensical. It's insane that you would think that the bug would be more active, or like not going out at a certain time period would somehow help. It's insane.
Yeah, totally. So why don't you get your screen share going, and we'll get into your topics for the evening, and we'll finish this off with a bang. I know you've got some interesting stuff to go through. Being curfew where D-Truth is for weeks. Howard's daughter says flu season is supposed to be over in spring. Seth says colleges and universities are commie indoctrination centers. I'm going to give him a bell on that one. I'm looking into homeschooling. I'm going to actually dig my intelligence into what the systems are, let's say, for someone 13 and up, or what do they teach? What can you do? Jason, just as a side note, what do you think? I think taking anyone 13 and up to work is probably the best education you could ever give someone. But if you were a parent, where would you look for curriculum?
Well, what I've come across in all of my research, so I've got videos that point out the flaws in mathematics, videos that point out the flaws in history, videos that point out a whole bunch of flaws. Things like even the second law of thermodynamics, we've absolutely obliterated and smashed. So things like math, once you dig down and do your research, you'll find that the only math that's real is math that can be done by geometry, which means that the only math that's real is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And that negative numbers and zeros and, this entire thing is nonsense. Complete and utter nonsense. So if you want to be able to educate your children, you should be able to teach them to add and subtract and multiply and divide. I don't know, what's a reasonable age? 6, 7, 8? To be able to do things like that?
Yeah, I asked the wrong guy, because you're so detailed with your approach on your answer. You take away what's like, you could throw out all of the history books, not the history, there's some good history, but most of the scientific books you can burn. Teaching children how to count, how to measure, how to problem solve. These are all important things, as well as work well with others. And that's going to be a tough task for anyone that's homeschooling right now. Language. I feel that a child should have an extensive knowledge in reading and understanding the vocabulary and what words mean. I'm not as big on the spelling myself, but practicing on spelling. And then
reading, writing, arithmetic. Those are the 3 essentials that people have to learn. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that it can all be done by the time a child's 8.
Yeah, well, we're past that. We're now looking to other ways for, I'm just coming up with just some ideas tonight, just throwing it out there. I don't know who might be listening that might be interested in, teaching their children. But another really important thing would be, so you've got the reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's your sit down at the desk, you're learning, whether it be with a tablet or a laptop or some type of device where you've got programs on there to go through. The real fun comes to learning how to, change tires, change the oil in your car, how to cut the grass, how to actually cook. Learning how to cook should be what you teach your children. Learning how to build things, learning how to grow, starting gardens. Even if you have just small deck spaces, you can still set up ways to grow tomatoes, and there's multiple things that you can teach. These are my quick answers. That was just a side note. I just felt like throwing that out there. If anybody's listening and you have interesting ideas on how you would homeschool your children, please put them in the comment section below. Jason, you have the screen share. You are good to go.
So for Redwall says, so I don't need A equals X plus Y and graphing. So algebra basic algebra. Like if you look at the equation that was put out there, all it has is addition in it. You can use algebra to problem solve. You can solve for hidden variables, which is fantastic, but you're still going to be using adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing for all of your calculations. So algebra is just a little bit advanced form of hidden problem solving. You can definitely teach algebra to somebody, but I would stay away from things like calculus because it'll lead you to nonsensical places. Along with geometry other than Euclidean. So you could spend a whole bunch of time learning about being on the inside of a bell in non-Euclidean geometry, but it's not going to help you at all. It's not real.
Well, we could also provide mapping and courses like that ourselves where we actually teach about stereographic hyperbolic types of systems where we can actually project images to different shapes. There's so many things that we could discuss. It was definitely a side note that I'm actually looking into myself. That's just something that I'm curious about. What ways can I make myself more intelligent? What are the most important things for me to learn? Because if they're important for me, they're going to be important for just about everybody else. So FDA advisory panel gives the what?
Green light to the Pfizer jab. The blessings of these experts means that the agency will likely okay the vaccine's use, paving the way for healthcare workers to begin getting jabs next week. All right, so I'm going to scroll down here. You're going to see when this was published. This was published December 10th. Today is the 11th. It was updated on the 11th at 6:37 p.m., so just a couple of hours ago. We're going to try to hit some highlights in this article because we're going to get some details as to when we can expect the rollout of the jab here in the United States. So Pfizer's jab has passed a critical milestone on Thursday when a panel of experts formally recommended that the Food and Drug Administration authorize the jab. The agency is likely to do so within days, giving healthcare workers and nursing home recipients first priority to begin receiving the first jabs early next week. All right, so the ruling came down to a vote of 17-4, with one member abstaining in favor of emergency authorization for people 16 and older. They're talking about the amount of, so-called deaths related to this situation. All right, so more details. The initial shipment of 6.4 million jabs will leave warehouses within 24 hours of being cleared by the FDA, according to officials. About half of those doses will be sent across the country, and the other half will be reserved for the initial recipients to receive their second dose about 3 weeks later. So we're going to send out half of the 6.4, save the other half, and deliver those to those people 3 weeks later. The arrival, let's see, is this important? No. It's got high efficacy. This
high
is
efficacy,
a word.
Eh?
A word that drives me nuts when I hear it. That word means efficiency, high efficiency. When you're talking about a vaccine, that's not even a good verb to use. It's got a high efficiency. It's highly efficient. I mean, you want a car that's highly efficient and a refrigerator that's highly efficient. But what does it mean when a jab is highly efficient? I guess it's supposed to be a good thing.
Yeah, it means that most people aren't going to get sick and die right away.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, so the Pfizer jab has been given to people in Bahrain and Britain, where it was authorized on December 2nd. Canada approved it on Wednesday. So this, we've got people connected to this channel that are connected to Canada, and Canada they are doing the roll up the sleever like right behind Britain. So we got the Crown in Britain. We've got Canada, who's still like they're connected to the Crown pretty heavily. And then the United States, right after that, we're still really heavily connected to the Crown. So Operation Warp Speed. This is Trump's multi-billion-dollar program to fast-track a jab development. Pre-ordered 100 million doses in July. They went out on a limb on this one, right? Fortunately, the FDA is saying that it's good for you.
Yeah, it's not good for you. But I'm not a doctor. This isn't medical advice.
Yeah, so this goes into the topic of what we covered last night. Some members asked about the likelihood for serious allergic reactions, given the news that regulators in Britain recommended this week that people with a history of anaphylactic allergy reactions to medications and foods not get the jab while they investigate 2 cases of allergic reactions among healthcare workers. Pfizer officials said there were no cases of serious allergic reactions in the trial of 44,000 participants. Period. Next sentence, people with a history of allergic reactions to vaccines were excluded from the study. So I just want people to pay attention to the 2 sentences back to back in this paragraph right here, where it says that Pfizer said that there were no cases of reactions, allergic reactions, in the trial of 44,000 participants because they pre-screened all the participants, and anybody that was supposed to have an allergic reaction was kept out of the study. Do you get how evilly worded that is right there? So, of course, there's going to be no people that have allergic reactions within the 44,000 participants because they were pre-screened to not have anybody with allergic reactions in the trial. It seems pretty obvious, right?
Yeah.
So here's one of the most hotly contested issues. I think there's a psyop in this paragraph. One of the most hotly contested issues was how the broad authorization of the vaccine might affect the continuing clinical trial. Some experts have argued that ethically, trial volunteers who received a placebo should be offered the vaccine once it's authorized, but others worried that move could tarnish the long-term results of the trial. So what they're saying is, all right, so we had 44,000 people participate in a trial, but if we're going to start giving this to everybody, shouldn't we just give it to everybody that was given the placebo as well? Why did they just get a placebo? Right? They should just get it. That would ruin the test pool completely, right?
It's such backwards, like, witchcraft writing that they write here.
Yeah. It's evil. If you read this, like Kermit Kubitz,
The
KK
KK.
over, yeah. The only thing he cares about is the elderly needs this or jab yesterday. That's all he cares about.
Why? Like, so again, a lot of this also has to do with the social programming, right? They want everyone. So again, we were at the post office, and I had turned around and said to somebody, like, it's crazy that we all have to stand 6 feet apart and wear these masks for something so deadly that you don't even know you have it. And they were both like, there was 2 older ladies. Jason was a witness. They were like, well, you should put that mask over your nose. And then the other one's like, yep, we got to all do it together so that we get through this as a team, right? Like, it was horrible. I was like, so a lot of the social programming that's going on, creating germaphobes, creating Karens, creating people that this whole we need to do this together thing It's such psychological psyops that have been run against the population. I would guess right back to the Garden of Eden. This was the tricks that Satan was employing right from the beginning. They try to get the whole crowd to go along, right? It's so gross.
All right. So this paragraph right here has to do with the backstory, the cover story for the White House. So by insisting that the advisory committee vote on any jab, regulators created a shield against White House pressure to approve a product before the presidential election. So we know that Trump was talking about having a jab before, but they're saying that they created this advisory committee to protect against political pressure for approving a jab before the election. So we've had the election, we're in limbo, and because it's coming from this advisory committee, we're supposed to believe that there was no political pressure to accept this, even though so many times we've been told that this type of thing needs to be developed over 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, that there needs to be clinical trials of that length to see what type of outcomes, or positive or negative, can be expected. So there's cover story right there.
Okay.
That that's what we can expect right now. Basically, is where was the paragraph that talked about the timing on this? I guess I skipped that one. It talked about
Control F search, or just move on.
I was real specific about talking about how Saturday. Let's try Saturday.
You're on it. Nope.
There it is. It was right after the 3,000 daily deaths. It says the FDA is expected to grant an emergency use authorization on Saturday. That would be tomorrow. According to people familiar with the agency's planning, though they caution that last-minute legal or bureaucratic requirements could push the announcement to Sunday or later. So as soon as tomorrow. Now what we're paying attention to are dates like the 14th, and the 14th just happens to be Monday. So it says Sunday or later due to bureaucratic or legal requirements. We're looking towards the 14th when this eclipse is supposed to be taking place. So this is coming up soon. The article says that within 24 hours of being cleared by the FDA, half the doses will be sent across the country. So
we're watching.
Coming up soon, everybody.
Yeah, we've got our eyes on it. We're letting people know what we see.
So I want to move into calendar a little bit. And so there's a video that we just checked out. This is informed Christians who thinks that the vaccine is definitely not the mark of the beast. He'll mock you if you think it is. But he's got this timetable up here, and it's interesting because he correlates the 9th Hebrew biblical month with the month of Sagittarius. And this right here is what led to some research today on my part, that the calendar that we've been sharing, the screwed up Hebrew calendar, is screwed up, right? Because the month of Sagittarius is the 9th Hebrew month. It's also the 9th Enochian month. We're going to be pointing that out. So this is a 1 and 6 minute long video that he goes into a lot of detail regarding 9/11 and the symbology regarding 9/11 and dates. He uses gematria. This is Kabbalistic type stuff.
Yuck, yuck, yuck.
He uses, predictive programming. He uses the iPeg goat stuff. All stuff that people are probably really familiar with. He also has real timelines that show where Jupiter is in its ecliptic path with real dates. This is all trackable, verifiable. These things we find interesting. We really do. And this timetable right here, he's got 9/11 here. He's talking about the 9th month and the 11th month of pregnancy. It's the actual 9/11, not the way he's using it, but 9/11 is in the way we're familiar with it as two buildings coming down in New York City that I'm most interested in. And the day that falls on a true calendar this year. So we're going to be going to the spreadsheet. Let me drop this link for everybody. So that's a web-based. This is where I originally found it. I downloaded it. I have it offline as well. As long as it's online, we can use it like this. But to go to this calendar again, I want to focus at the beginning here. What I've been pointing out to people is this center calendar that says 354 moon day count, Enoch month day feast. And what I found interesting about this calendar is that the first day of the first month always falls after the new moon all year long. All right, so this is interesting. Now, if I scroll up a little bit higher, the screwed up Hebrew calendar over here, column D, they have Nisan 1 beginning March 26th of 2020, a day after the new moon of December 24th. So there's a gap. Then they have Nisan 1 beginning March 26th here. So what you'll see here is that the screwed up Hebrew calendar does not line up with new moons. And that to me is a serious problem.
That's a fail.
The other issue is that just like we saw in this video, the 9th Hebrew biblical month, the month of Sagittarius, if you look up, this is Hebrew astronomy. I'm at Wikipedia. So I'm under the subheading of Hebrew astronomy. You scroll down here, and what you see is that the first month is connected with the... So how many constellations or zodiac
12.
signs? 12, right?
Correct.
So Nisan is connected with Aries, Ir, Taurus, Sivan, Gemini, Tammuz, Cancer, Av, Leo, Elul, Virgo, Tishri, Libra, Chesvan, Scorpio, Kislev, Sagittarius. This Kislev is the 9th month, and the constellation is Sagittarius.
Correct.
Let's go back.
So the sun will be in that constellation during the 9th month. That's how we can calculate that, right? After the new moon.
And what Ronnie means by that is this. So I pulled up Stellarium today. And if you look at the date 12/14, or let's see. Look, I'm going to do this a little differently. Let's scroll down here and get into the time zone that we're in. We're going to be looking at that 9th month closely. All right, so now we're in our time period here. in this 354 moon day count right here, you can see that, let me scroll up a little bit. The new moon happened on November 15th, and then the first day of the 8th month was November 16th. Now, Chess Fan, this is the screwed up Hebrew calendar. Chess Fan is the 8th month, and the sun is in Scorpio. So let's go ahead and take a look at this quick, just to make sure. Let's pick
to the next month.
So the 8th month, the 15th day, let's take a look at November 30th and see where the sun is.
Can you scroll down a bit? Okay, go ahead. You're good now.
All right, so this is on a full moon, the 8th month, 15th day. They say it's Kislev 14, November 30th. Let's take a look at November 30th.
Sun is in Scorpio.
It's in Scorpio. All right, so this right here really, really shows that the Hebrew screwed up calendar is off by a month.
It's wrong.
Now, this calendar over here, which I had not been paying attention to, this column right here says sun constellation. So you can see that the sun is in Scorpio, 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 all the way
Boom.
until the 9th month, 7th day on this calendar right here, which is December 21st.
Which happens to be the alignment of Saturn and Jupiter. This year.
This is the day that the sun rises in Sagittarius. So let's go to December 21st so that everybody can understand how you can double check this for yourself.
In Stellarium.
Yep.
Free internet software. You just search Stellarium and download it.
So here's December 21st, and the sun is now not in Scorpio, but over here in Sagittarius. This is the Sagittarius constellation. Right? So this right here is the 9th month. This December, it showed up on the 21st. This is the 9th month. This is really huge in my opinion, that this calendar right here is correct based off of new moons, but this calendar over here actually goes off of the sun constellation. So this one right here, the true 9/11 on this calendar is December 25th. Right here.
Christmas.
Christmas.
Right?
But counting off of when the sun is in the constellation, this is the 4th day afterwards. So it goes first day, second, third, fourth. They call it the 5th day here. But notice December 21st. No, let's see. We're talking about 9/11. 9/11 right here. December 25th. This is the 5th day of the 9th month. And then the 9/11 on the enochian calendar lands on December 31st.
Those are both watch days that you're pointing out.
Yes. So 9/11 from the moon day count lands on December 25th, and 9/11 from when you count the sun goes into a constellation comes to December 31st. Now, there's big things going on during this time period. You see this highlighted row right here. December 21st. This is when the Jupiter and Saturn are to conjoin, their conjunction, the great conjunction on the 21st. Those two things coming together, 9/11 hits like 4 days after that, or 3.5 days, depending on where you are in the world. Let's say you were in Jerusalem, December 25th would come 3.5 days after that. So
there's, some of the other things to talk about here, is Obama was constantly saying, so we know that they install puppets, right? And those puppets, they achieve agendas that are multi-generational. Like Dr. Fauci has served like 8 presidents or 7 presidents, and his agenda is still moving forward. So Obama had said that we will win the war on Christmas. It was a statement that he made. It was out of place. It didn't make sense. But now what we see is there a likelihood that, are they going to wipe out a giant section of the population? So one of my other theories, again, Jason had said off the beginning that we will be doing some speculation tonight. One of my other theories is they could impose curfews so that they could actually set up different strategic types of psyops, whether they wanted to detonate Beirut type bombs in different cities, whatever it is they want to do. If they've got everybody in your house, and if you leave your house after 10 p.m., you get charged and arrested, people are going to stay home, and they're going to have the full range of the highways and whatever it is that they want to do. I'm just pointing it out. There is a possibility that there could be some sort of destruction coming from December 21st through to December 31st, right?
Yeah, so if we go back to the 14th in Stellarium,
14th is the eclipse, which generally they've used in past times to mark wars, as well as different things with Mercury. Or Mars.
All right, so you can sort of see here that from Austin, 30 degrees north. Can I zoom in here?
You can. You could also go to a more southerly latitude as well to get the eclipse picture, but it's fine.
You can see here that they're showing new moon. This would be...
That's no moon. New moon is the sliver crescent.
No moon.
No moon.
Which is when eclipses happen. When there's no sliver present, but based on your latitude and longitude, you get an overlap of this and the sun. That's when these take place. So we have that taking place on the 14th, and then a week later, we're going to have the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. Not sure exactly where in the sky that takes place. This is also the winter solstice. This is the shortest day of the year. This is when, after this, the days will become longer. But it's the Great Conjunction, and then on the 25th, it's 9/11 based on that Enochian calendar right here. It's 9/11 coming off of new moons on December 25th, and it's 9/11 on December 31st coming off of the sun.
Yes.
When
it's
the
a full moon. So
yeah,
you didn't point out quite clear. So first, it's the lunar eclipse going to be noticed in South America. Second,
no, it's a total solar.
What is it? So okay, total solar eclipse. Excuse me. Thank you for correcting me, sir. Secondly, will be the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter that hasn't happened in how many years?
794.
And then we're seeing the full moon alignment with this whole 9/11 on the correct Hebrew calendar, which could lead us to think that they're going to do a second destruction, which was interesting because Daniel Vallis was actually suggesting that they might, again, we're not scientists, we're not conspiracy theorists, we're reality analysts. And what we see is people are suggesting that they might try to take out down the One World Trade Center, which is an interesting thing. But I think they could do multiple cities with their Beirut type bombs. That's my supposition. I don't want it to happen. I'm trying to manifest against it. I'd like the kingdom to come down and we can all live in peace and, multiply. But we're going to have to put up with what we're going to have to put up with, right? So let's keep going with your explanation.
So people that do take the time to look at this spreadsheet, if you go to the tab that's labeled, what was it labeled? Enoch Gates. So there's multiple tabs across the bottom. If you go to Enoch Gates, you will also see that on the Enochian calendar, that month 9, down here, right here, right before the winter solstice, month 9, the sun's in Sagittarius.
First gate. So if you go to a chabad.org or whatever, you're going to end up with the screwed up Hebrew calendar where it's a month off. It's a total month off. So you can just take this entire column right here and slide it down so that Kislev 11 lines up right here on December 25th. And so I just wanted to point that out, but the sun moves into Sagittarius on December 21st, on the date of the Great Conjunction. So yeah,
this is significant.
D Truth was asking that did we not have an eclipse 3.5 years ago? I don't think it wasn't 3.5 years ago in 2017. I don't think, not yet. But Jason and I extensively filmed that, so we've got that. Oh, it's not up. It's you didn't have to private that one. But anyways,
yeah, I privated everything except for.
And when's the next Great American Eclipse? Because that one again runs right through my new city and my old city, right? It's crazy.
The next one's 2024.
2024. Thank you. That's the Great American Solar Eclipse, second part 2. So we're anticipating that.
Yeah, where it hits, like literally where we're at right now. We are in the path of totality.
Yeah,
and. That path will go right up by Toronto. Really close.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like we had to drive almost to Illinois, right? We were up in the northern part of Missouri. Or were we in the central?
Southern Illinois. We went to like the Carbondale, or what was it? It started with an A. Anna.
Well, we were at a town called Alto Pass.
Yes.
Where we literally filmed from. We had a giant 400-foot cross that was across the valley. It was quite the incredible experience, I have to say. And me, for my first time, moving down to Texas back then, it was incredible. And I'm looking forward to the next one if society so allows it. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone then. But you can continue with the explanations tonight. Doing a great job.
Well, that's pretty much it. It was
okay.
The FDA and the calendar update. And hoping people understand this, the calendar on the right now, a little bit more. I'm starting to. That these are set off. See how it says right here, it goes sun constellation. It's in Scorpio. Then on December 21st, the first day of it, being in Sagittarius, on this 364-day calendar, this is 9/1. All right, so this calendar is based off of the day that the sun moves into the next constellation. So this one has 9/11 being December 31st. The one based solely off of the moon action has 9/11 as December 25th. We've got 4 big watch days, in my opinion, coming up. December 14th, that's the eclipse day. December 21st, that's Great Conjunction and Equinox Day. December 25th, that is 9/11 on the moon count. And December 31st, that's 9/11 on the sun count. So hope that's of some benefit to some people out there.
I get the screen share? Yeah, excellent job with that. D Truth is saying, and now the one on the 14th, middle of the trib. So we haven't seen a bunch of the things that we need to see, we're still awaiting. The two witnesses have to come on the scene, and they have to be given power to shut up the heavens, and anyone who tries to kill them shall be killed in the same like manner. We haven't seen any of that take place, so there's no way we're halfway through the tribulation. Right, Jay?
Exactly. So prophetically speaking, you would have to have seen the destruction of Damascus. You would have to have seen World War already. You would have to have seen a burning mountain be cast into the waters.
The ocean.
And and a third of the waters be decimated, and then another third happens again. So this is all first half of the Great Tribulation type stuff, which hasn't taken place yet.
So we're watching. We're anticipating it. Thanks again to everybody in the chat, all the lurkers. We're really thankful that everybody shows up. We have a good group here, and we're thankful for every one of you. If you got anything out of this content, or if you have anything that you want to add, please leave it in a comment below. And we're really thankful. Thank you, brother, for your great explanations tonight. Stand proud, stand truthful. Don't wear the mask all the time. Any last words, Jay?
Not really. Looking forward to the 14th. I'm not sure about going live on Sunday. We'll see. But 14th might be interesting.
All right, brother. Thank you. This was Yahushua News Network.
Setting sun is a smoking gun, is a four-letter word, I hope it hurts. Love is a fatal flaw, is a broken jaw, is a burning bridge, move your carrots. And the ghosts of the boulevard, littered with lonely hearts. City like a graveyard, once was a postcard. When you lose your wonder, and you can't remember where we were living in the days of thunder. 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 Living in the days of love was a dream to have, was a king-size bed, was an escape plan, was an open hand. Now it's a dog from hell, it's a dream you sell, it's an epitaph, it's a photograph.